Well, today on the Recovery 180 podcast, we've got Nathan all the way from Tennessee. And
Yeah.
Nathan, welcome on board. Where exactly are you in Tennessee?
Yep. In Nashville. Well, technically, we're in Pegram,
Pagram.
which is about 20 minutes west of Nashville,
Okay.
and we moved out here about 5 years ago, and it's been awesome. I've been in the Nashville area for 13 years and moved from Arizona
Okay. So
to Nashville. So
tell me a little bit about you growing up. So you got your start
yeah,
In Arizona then, and how did that all
yeah.
go?
Grew up evangelical Christian. My dad was a pastor of a church. Growing up, well, youth pastor at first, and then we moved to Africa as missionaries for a
Mm.
short stint, like part of a year.
Hmm.
Not a long stint, but it was very transitional time when we came back from Africa. He went from being the youth pastor to the senior pastor at the church that we had been at.
Right.
Um,
So
and so
you were at what age then when you moved to Africa?
I was 8.
8.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was 8.
was that a big deal for you?
It's wild because, it's 8 is an interesting age, especially for me. Like, I need my memories are very, even later into my teen years, they had to be very big,
Hmm.
high sensory things for me to really remember them very vividly. And so Africa, it's kind of like, do I remember it or do I remember the stories of it that were told after and things like that? But it definitely was a changing point in our whole family
Mm.
dynamic and kind of where we were, where we were kind of headed as a family. So
Okay.
definitely, yeah.
So Africa back to the United States then. And
Yeah,
then you
and
planted where?
well, we I was born in Flagstaff, Arizona, and we went to Africa and we came back to Flagstaff.
Okay.
And while we were over there, the church that we'd been attending was called New Song Assemblies of God,
Hmm.
and my dad had been the youth pastor there. And when we came back, the head pastor had left, and so he stepped in to be the senior pastor around
Oh,
that time.
okay.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, and so then from there, I was the youth group worship music guy for all of that, and then kind of did a lot of music worship stuff all around Arizona for big church youth group things, and then started a rock band when I was 17 and became a heathen and went on tour. So
So
pretty much.
what was it like growing up a PK, pastor's kid? That always there's always some interesting stories there. Either
Yeah.
lots of pressure or what or
I think I was on the, I'm a performer. I think the pressure that you hear about
Mhm.
from pastors' kids, like, oh, there was so much pressure. It's pressure to perform.
Right.
Well, I'm naturally a performer, so it kind of gave me a stage, right? Like, it gave me a lot of attention. People paid a lot of attention to me. Being a pastor's kid, I stepped up to the plate and gave them the performance, which when that's rooted,
So the performance off and on the stage, both?
oh my God, all the time.
Oh, is that right? Eh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
all the time. But that's, I think, part of, part of the journey when you have a personality, when you have a personality of a performer,
Hmm.
you have to know when you're deciding to be in that mode and doing it of your own volition, and when that's becoming like kind of your safety blanket where you're putting on a mask to perform and you actually have, an authentic person is starting to disconnect from that. And I
Hmm.
think that started to happen a lot until I started the rock band and went on tour and continued to perform, but in a much more authentic way,
Hmm.
which was
So
good.
so this performance side of you, where were your parents on that? Did they see through that, or was it was your performance genuine, do you feel, or were you just putting on a front because you were in the church?
No, it was all pretty genuine. I have the added benefit in this kind of in the in the American Christianity world of what's happening right now, a lot of people deconstructing from Christian faith and kind of untethering from things while other people become way more devout,
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
is really interesting. But for me, my dad went through a deconstruction when I was about 15, 16 years old.
Okay.
And so I kind of was on that. I was kind of with him on that, which created a really natural path for me to take kind of everything that I was doing musically and move it from more of a Christian focus into just like more of a rock and roll focus. And we
Mm,
started playing, like, even when I was 17, we started the rock band. We mostly played in churches and things like that
mm,
until
hmm.
I was probably 20. And then around 20 years old, we started playing like more bars and clubs and things like that. So yeah.
So how did things change then from that 20-year-old age to hitting the road and playing bars and stuff like that? How did things start changing for you?
I mean, the biggest thing was still from the faith base, the upbringing that I had. I got married at 19.
Okay.
And so I was married and then started touring pretty seriously like 2 years after I got married.
Hmm.
I was on tour a lot. So I was gone a lot. Um and just just I'm not gonna say should or shouldn't, but for other people, but we were just kids that got married,
Hmm.
like too
Hmm.
young and
Hmm.
had no business really being married that young, while I was trying to go be a rock star,
Hmm.
and there was a lot of challenges there. And then of course that's where being a good devout Christian all the way through high school, I never partied or anything like that. And then like 19 years old, 20 years old, I start kind of partying, drinking, and stuff like that, and really felt like I had to. I won't. We were popular enough that there was this pressure to be cool
Hmm.
and be
Hmm.
able to hang and party, and I think I felt like I was behind uh in the cool factor. So by 20 years old, like at 20 years old when I first started drinking, I started drinking Jack Daniels out of the bottle like rock stars did, right? So
Hmm.
I didn't start with Smirnoff Ice,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It just was like I'm gonna be able to drink whiskey like men or rock stars or something like that,
Hmm.
and so developed a
So did that
pretty
get,
serious.
yeah, so did that get to be kind of a routine and like a daily thing then for you, or was that just around the concerts?
I mean, it got pretty constant pretty quick. But the dependence on it was probably still gradual,
Hmm. Hmm.
but the partying was pretty constant, at least every weekend. Um, and not, I mean, probably multiple times throughout the week too, but still all very much in a party
Hmm.
way and having fun, having a good time, and definitely over consuming, but not really through escapism, not numbing, really just Flagstaff's a small town.
Hmm.
Everybody kind of partied, or it felt like everybody partied.
Hmm.
Um, and so there's just kind of the thing
So,
that you did,
so how
especially in the
did,
rock music.
yeah, how did that affect then, say, your relationship with your wife and say with your parents? That change in
Yeah. So,
lifestyle.
um, yeah, that my mom was always concerned about it. My dad was kind of like maybe revisiting, like kind of like, oh, cool, we're not being all strict and stuff anymore, like, yeah, let's have some drinks, let's catch a buzz, that kind of thing. Um, but I got married at 19 and
Hmm.
got divorced at 26,
Hmm.
and our alcohol abuse was very codependent alcohol abuse. So like we really became pretty reliant on alcohol to have any sort of bonding
Like
between us
you're
and
saying
our
you
friendship.
and your wife? You mean
Me and
both
my
were?
ex-wife, yeah.
Yeah, we're both
Yeah.
drinking. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so that got you're saying that the alcohol helped the relationship be sensible and not nasty, or it took you down a
Well, a little bit of
road of
both. I
now.
mean, just like, as far as I can remember, it was like, I don't know, man. Like anytime that we were not crashing out to go to work or something,
Hmm.
we were partying and drinking with friends, you know.
Hmm.
So it's just our shared social time. Kind of everybody was doing that. Um, and then I think probably around, once I started touring really heavily is where it really started for me became dependent upon it. We would sleep in the van
Hmm.
on tour. And so sometimes it would be so hard to get sleep. You'd be up, you'd be amped that it's 2 or 3 in the morning. You're parked at a rest stop and it's like you need to go to sleep. And so it's like, really putting down a good amount of whiskey to kind of knock yourself out
Hmm.
and that kind of thing and pass out more than fall asleep. So that's
So
really where I think the dependencies happened, and then going home and when we get home, that's still the party climate and stuff like that. Just really
and
pretty.
you are running on very little sleep then, obviously.
Oh my
I
God,
mean,
yeah,
sleeping in the van
yeah.
doesn't
We're
work.
driving ourselves. Yeah,
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 the whole thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yes.
so marriage is over. You move on. Music is still going.
Yeah.
What's the next step?
Music took me to, my divorce. As I went through my divorce, which is a very long story and lots of different moving pieces, but there's a second point where alcohol shows up as a big piece is that through my divorce, I realized I don't need to live in Arizona anymore.
Hmm.
And I was coming to Nashville to record an album. And so I decided to, we were relatively separated at that time, kind of figuring things out. And I went, I'm going to just stay in Nashville.
Hmm.
And so I stayed in Nashville, and that's when alcohol really starts to become more of a band-aid, if you will, kind of, oh, I've got all this heartbreak, I've got all this pain and hurt and stuff through the divorce. And so then it starts to be like, I don't want to be present with these feelings anymore, so I'm going to be intoxicated
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
lot of the time. And then, really it's a wild story, but 3 months after I moved to Nashville, I meet my now wife, who I've been married to for 13 years, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So right after this train wreck, situation where I'm completely lost, all of a sudden I have somebody that I'm very attracted to, and we bond very quickly and got married very quickly.
Hmm.
And she had also very recently been divorced, and uh and so we bond through all kinds of things, but one of the things we bond to as well is the Nashville party scene.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so we fall in love, we get married, and in Nashville, you can drink for free every night of the week if you know where to go. There's a number one party for some country thing. There's this promotion from this brand.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you can just hop around and drink for free and just get hammered so easily. Um, and so now it went from, oh my gosh, it's so sad. I have to drink all the time. It's so sad, to all of a sudden, oh my gosh, this is so fun. And I'm meeting all these wonderful people and it's fun again. And just up and down and up and down. And
So did you think that the going to some of these parties in Nashville and that whole scene was elevating your music career or making connections? Were you justifying it to some degree?
oh yeah. And I will say too, part of the thing that was problematic is I've always held my liquor really well.
Hmm.
So there wasn't this like crazy amount of like waking up the next morning and being like, "Oh my gosh, I made a fool of myself," or like, "I
Yeah.
don't know how I did this," Always, I got lucky a number of times in regards to the dangers of drinking and driving and things like that. Definitely
Hmm.
moments I'm not
Hmm.
proud of that I know I shouldn't have been behind a wheel, but
Right.
was pretty cautious at the same time comparatively to people that I knew. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
definitely times that I know now I shouldn't have been behind a wheel, but for the most part, taking steps to be safe. And so, really, the alcoholism and the alcohol abuse was very, very personal. It wasn't causing a lot of problems in my life or in my career, and probably in a lot of ways was actually elevating it, of being able to hang and party with people. And and let's be honest, like sometimes sometimes everybody needs to kind of like know that you can party and hang if they're wanting to party and hang. And if you're the sober guy, it can be a buzzkill for
Mhm.
certain people who have their own dependencies, right?
Well, and likes
And
attract, right? You're drawn back to people that
yep,
are in kind of the same boat as you, right?
right. Yep.
So,
So yeah, definitely a lot of that. But there's that question that you kind of sit with of like, I don't think it's regret, but it is the question of like, oh my gosh,
mhm.
what could have been accomplished, or what, where were missed opportunities because I was more focused on how we were gonna get, free drinks or whatever,
Mhm.
than how
Mhm.
we were gonna get hammered, than advance the career. And
So
so
you,
the band actually ended very quickly after that for a lot of those reasons. And then I kind of jumped towards more of the music business side of things,
mhm.
and started doing more music business. And
So you did a
uh,
shift. So you weren't a performer so much as you went more into the management side of things then, or
yeah, yep.
like,
And
so
that
you became like a producer, right? Were you producing
Well,
music
so
or?
I actually worked in just management, and development, and helping newer artists kind of structure their careers and things like that. And my alcohol dependence was very present through all of that, building that business, and it was a successful business. I built a staff of 15 people during that time. And then my wife got pregnant. And so she didn't drink for the whole time that she was pregnant. And I decided to quit as well during that time.
Mhm.
And we both took a year off, and it was great. Business thrived. We were doing great. And then we made the classic mistake that a lot of people do, like, oh man, we took a year off. We could probably actually balance ourselves now. We can re-enter and drink with moderation.
Mhm. Mhm.
And oh my goodness. Like when I hear people say that now, I'm like, please don't. Don't.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
stay. Just stay. Cause I mean, that is when it went really bad for me. That's when things went really, where my addiction just really, we had a new baby in the house. So life was completely different. Things got so hard. And knew
Mm.
that my drinking, and it was 2 years after that, of
Mm.
very, very heavy drinking before I finally got sober.
Mm. So
Uh,
what was the wall? What did you hit a wall, or did somebody come to you and say, Nathan, hey, it's time to wake up here?
no,
What?
we went back to Flagstaff for a trip. And every trip back to Flagstaff has always triggered a lot of trauma, a lot of pain.
Mhm.
And this one was no different. And I had a really gnarly panic attack while very heavily intoxicated. And my wife had been drinking a lot on the trip as well. And so we get on the plane with our 2-year-old daughter, and we're hungover. And we just kind of looked at each other and we were like, "Are you done?" And she's like, "I'm done." I'm like, "I'm
Mm.
done." And when we got back to Nashville, we just never drank again.
Wow. Wow.
Um, which is just by the grace of God. I told my psychiatrist that, and she got really mad at me. Because she was like, "That could have killed you." And she was like, "What? You didn't do like a program or a detox or anything like that?" She was like, "You told me how much you were drinking." I was like, "No, I just stopped."
I
And
think
so
that's,
she was like,
I mean, that's so cool that the two of you together
"Yeah,
created that bond and that decision. And I think that's probably what really made a difference. Because if she hadn't said
yeah."
that and you hadn't said that, it might have still been
It
going
was
on.
it was wild. It was a godsend. It was the right time. It was the universe kind of bringing everything together. But we did learn very quickly within probably the first 2 weeks that we could not depend on each other for the sobriety,
Hmm.
right? We made a commitment to each other that was like,
You're meaning like
I'm quitting, you're
accountability.
quitting. But when I'm struggling, I'm not coming to you being like, oh, I'm struggling,
Right, right,
and
right.
we kind of made that commitment to each other. And then over that journey, like our journey was very different. I felt very empowered very quickly. I could go out to bars and be sober. I felt empowered by being in those spaces and kind of beating those spaces. Like these spaces don't control me. I can be here. I had agency over myself.
Hmm.
And then if she went somewhere where people were drinking a lot, it made her really uncomfortable and she wouldn't want to be there.
Hmm.
And then certain situations for me, like where it would be hard for me, would be certain activity. Like we used to camp a lot and we would drink a lot while camping.
Right.
And after we got sober, kept going camping. And I basically was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I have these memories of like as soon as we get the campsite set up, I'm used to, pouring a glass of wine or a glass of whiskey
Hmm.
and the environment is just too triggering. So it was really interesting how we had to handle our sobriety very differently. But now we're 6 years in and just very aligned and stuff and can celebrate together.
So what did the two of you do then for accountability? Were you part of AA or uh,
Yeah.
support groups?
So we got sober in September 2019. I started to go see a therapist, a brand new therapist I had scheduled to meet with. And so I met with him 4 days after getting sober. I had been scheduled to meet with him for a month.
Hmm.
And so the first time I met with him, I was 4 days sober. And I met with him every week and then moved to every other week for 4 years and stayed
Hmm.
very consistent with him. I
Hmm.
think I would put that as probably the biggest piece of my accountability was really steady therapy and really working on the trauma,
Hmm.
right? Like finding out that I'm drinking. One of the most profound things he ever said to me in my therapy was I was checking in this trauma, kind of going into my divorce story and some of the things that I was experiencing. And he said to me, "Man, gosh, thank God you had alcohol." And I was like, "What? No, I'm trying to tell you that I was drinking so much because of this. It was bad." And he goes, "Well, no, it sounds like you suffered a lot of hurt, and the only thing that brought you any comfort was alcohol.
Hmm.
So I'm glad you had alcohol." And it just tweaked my framing. And he goes, "It was there for you, and you did need something, and it worked. And now you've healed, and you don't need it anymore, and it doesn't work.
Hmm. Hmm.
So you can put it aside without beating yourself up for going to the only thing that worked during that time of heavy trauma for
Hmm.
you." And that permission to have grace on myself in that way and to even find thankfulness in for the alcohol was insane. So that it was things like that, like his work with me really helped. Then I joined what we called a heart group. It functions like a 12 step.
Hmm.
in a lot of ways, but it's not specific towards alcohol addiction or even addiction in general, but more so just it's focused on more like emotional intelligence, or maybe you address toxic masculinity and the idea of suppressed emotions, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
suppressed emotional intelligence. So a bunch of men that are like, I've never known how to actually feel my feelings, so I've developed addictions to,
Mm.
suppress or numb them. And so I was a part of that for yeah, 4 or 5 years of the time
Okay.
that I've been sober.
So
And then
you're,
my wife's story is kind of hers, so I'll let
yeah.
she'll share that in her life.
There you go. Well, we've got about 10 minutes left. I just wanted to touch on the God side of things. Like
Yeah.
how was your faith like once you got sober, did you revisit that your faith walk or where did that how did that
Yeah, I
transpire?
think my faith is actually probably growing one of the more now than ever. In a lot of ways, I think I have a lot of respect for AA and the program. I haven't done it.
Hmm.
Um, a, a lot of my aversion to it was some of its religious roots and its roots in God. Um, and I think powerlessness in a lot of my circumstances was like why I drank when I felt like I couldn't control situations and things like that. Alcohol would bring the environment into a place that was familiar, and I felt like I was actually in more control when I was drinking.
Hmm.
Um, and so I think for me, getting sober was about taking my power back. So to have it be like God, I needed it to be like I got sober. I know other people need it to be like this is outside of my power
Hmm.
and this is a gift from God, and I support all of that. But for me personally, I needed to step into my power, into my dignity and my freedom, and say, I have the power to live life the way that I want to.
Hmm.
And um and so that's what that was for me. So I didn't turn towards God in that time. Now that I have done so much work around the trauma and around kind of gaining some power back within myself, now everything's kind of starting to soften
Hmm.
and kind of going, man, how are we all connected? Um, and then seeing life through the lens of gratitude and the grace of God in a big way.
Hmm.
And then also, I think a lot of that has to do with trying to regain some of my childhood back and going that gap from 1920 when I started drinking really heavily was to escape a lot of the story I had told myself about the kid that I was.
Hmm.
And so now there's a lot of me as my daughter's 8 years old now, and as I see her kind of coming into just being a kid, of wanting to, recapture some of my youth. And
Hmm.
so that is, I'm going kind of back through some of the faith journey and
Hmm.
reclaiming some of
Oh,
those
cool.
things in a beautiful and
So what's your passion for today? I know you've got stuff on the works and that, but
yeah.
what is it did you see yourself chasing after or wanting to accomplish? I mean, of course, this is coaching questions, right? But
Yeah.
what's your passions and how are you going to go about them making those things happen?
Yeah. So much of my life was, and alcohol came into this because it was so pressurized. There were so many scenarios where other people, outside forces, had these expectations of me doing these big things, like accomplishing these big things, because if I could accomplish them, they could come with me, was
Mm,
basically
right, right.
what
Yeah.
what the truth was. Escape the hometown, all this stuff. And so now my passion is, and I'm so blessed in 2022, 22, 23, I started songwriting again. I
Oh, right
quit
on.
everything. I hit a total reset button on my career, and I started a new business where I represent songwriters and producers in a managerial position. And then I'm songwriting full time with artists as well.
Hmm.
And it's amazing that as soon as I kind of let go of all of the grand accomplishments that were like, I'm going to accomplish this and I'm going to build this and I'm going to build that. And I just went to, how do I want to be spending my time and what
Hmm.
do I want to be doing every
Hmm.
day?
Hmm.
As soon as I did that, things just started to fall into place. And so I'm so grateful now I'm making a full-time living doing what I'm doing. And I could do this every day of my life for the rest of my life and be completely content. And within that, obviously, I'd love to write a hit song, you
Hmm.
know?
Hmm.
And I think what we all learn in the creative arts is that now that I'm just in motion and just in flow, doing the same thing every day, I probably have the best chance at actually hitting, like writing the hit song,
Yeah. Yeah.
because no single situation is dependent on it. So
Well,
I
and
had a
you
lot.
got and you've got the clear mind now. You don't have the
Yeah,
alcohol driven mind. You got the clear
yeah,
mind and still.
yeah.
So as we wind down to the last few minutes we've got here, like any wise words of wisdom for those people out there that that might be, maybe either going through addiction or maybe they're a new songwriter that wants to,
Yeah.
like in a minute or so, can you give them some direction or some motivation?
Well, if you're an artist, of any kind, don't buy into any of the lies that like you have to consume or be intoxicated or
Hmm.
anything to be cool, or that it will open up your creativity or anything like that. It's all it like if you enjoy whatever you're doing, enjoy yourself, have fun, but don't buy into any of the social pressure of it. It's all bull.
Hmm.
Um, I think the biggest thing for me is that the simple fact of the matter is when I tell people I'm sober, they'll say something like, "Man, I've been thinking about maybe taking a break from drinking."
Hmm.
As soon as you've had that thought, it's time not to take a break from drinking, but it's time to quit.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
that's just the truth of it is that when you've noticed that alcohol or a substance is no longer it is that it's doing harm in your life,
Hmm.
you've hit a slope that you're not climbing back up that slope.
Hmm.
You're not going to make it back to the fun buzz. You're not going to make it back to the good times in your college dorm. As soon as you check in with yourself, oh, maybe I should take a break. Yep, that's your sign. Put it down. Life is better on this side. That's all there is to
Well,
it.
those are good words, and I think that's the thing is they're not at the yellow light at the intersection. They're at the red light. They need to stop.
That's
So
that, that's exactly right. If you're
yeah,
able to say it out loud, and if me telling you I'm sober makes you think about your own consumption, it's time, buddy.
there you go. Yeah, there you go. Well, that's great words of wisdom, Nathan, for us to wind down with. But thank you again for taking time, and I look
Thanks
forward
for
to
letting me share my story.
I look forward to chatting with you again sometime down the road. But I just really know that this is gonna create some interest and some excitement in some of those musicians that are out there and the singer songwriters, and
Yeah.
hopefully people reach out and
Hit me up.
connect with you. Yeah. All
Sounds
right.
great.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
We'll see you.